Welcome to the What a Play podcast. I'm your host, Jacob. Lucas could not be here because of prior commitments, but I did have him send in his answers to the questions I gave him, which were, what was the biggest offseason move your team made, in this case the Patriots, draft picks, the favorite draft picks that he said that you could have 2 or 3, the one player that surprised you the most, and what the team's record would be. So talking about the New England Patriots, he had a very lengthy explanation. He said the answer is Mike Vrabel. He says, I don't think Gerard Mayo was a bad coach. I think he could be a great coach someday, but he wasn't ready for this opportunity. And he failed to instill a good culture, which you don't have to feel with Vrabel. Vrabel is a proven head coach, which is something that this team generally needs and desperately needs. And now they have it. They have an identity. The identity is ground and pound. Be aggressive on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Play hard-nosed football. The players will rally behind that, and I'm adding this. I'm putting a little bit of words in his mouth here. Vrabel is a player's coach. He plays the coaching role like a player. That's how he is. He brings that kind of energy, which is very important. I agree everything he said. I agree with the person he chose. It had to be Vrabel, and we said this here we said it on my YouTube channel during our the NFL Dream series that we did, where we talked about the New England Patriots, and I said, I believe, and I've said it here too, I believe the reason when Belichick left, it was pretty much between O'Brien and Mayo. Because after Belichick retired, resigned, quit, fired, whatever they want to use the term as, he said that there was a provision in his contract that would essentially say the new coach of this New England Patriots team will be on the current staff. I assume that was for when Josh McDaniels was going to be there, but Josh was no longer on the team and the coaching staff. It was Bill O'Brien and it was Gerard Mayo, amongst others, but they chose Gerard Mayo. Maybe they wanted a different shift and Bill O'Brien wasn't going to give him that. I don't know. But I can tell you that I don't think Gerard Mayo was ready for that opportunity. He was an inside linebackers coach. Asking him to take on that much is really challenging. And I remember Belichick said, I believe it was on the minicast, but it was somewhere else. He said, when you become a head coach, it's not like a coordinator position. It's not like a position coach. But those position coaches or coordinators, you're actually coaching. When you're the head coach, you're not so much of doing schematics or anything like that. You're doing like salary cap, culture, working between the front office and the players and being the intermediary for for those two parties. It's not the same. And that's what I understand. I don't think Jerome Mayo is ready. Maybe he will be someday. Maybe he will be someday. But for now, he wasn't ready, and he wasn't ready then. He's not ready now, but maybe in the future he will be. But Revel, they nailed this pick. I really do think they nailed it. And they moved very quickly. They got him. They made sure it was perfect. It was the way it needed to be. They got it done. And he was available. That was the thing. They didn't have to go and trade for him. So he was available and they just brought him in and they said, let's go. And they named him the head coach. And that was it. Um, the 2 picks that Lucas was really excited about were Trevion Henderson, the former Ohio State running back, and Kyle Williams. To a running back room that doesn't really have much outside of Gibson. He also brings playmaking ability because he can do He can be a dual threat in passing game and in the rushing game. And that's very beneficial for a team that, especially when you have a young quarterback, that he can always have a great safety valve, whether it's tight end, running back, fullback, whatever it is, even slot receiver, it doesn't matter. He said the Kyle Williams is also a very dynamic receiver with a lot of upside and a lackluster receiving core. I think the Patriots did a lot to improve it, but they need to be better in big downs, key situations. For many years, the Patriots had struggled in clutch situations and late game situations, especially last year. He says, I do expect a change, however, when you bring in both Revel and the veteran wide receiver, Stefon Diggs. I agree. When you have a guy, a coach, and a veteran player that can say, hey, this is how you have to do this. This is how you should be doing it. You should only be focused on it on this particular way. And do it right every time so that way you don't have to. Nick, let me say it this way. Nick Saban has a great saying. Don't do it once right. Do it right so you can't do it wrong. If everyone tries to do it, they do it wrong 5 times and they get it right the 6th time and then they say, okay, I got it, now I'm done. He's like, no. Don't practice enough so you can get it right. Practice enough so you can't get it wrong. That's the level of impact you need. And that's what Vrabel's going to bring. Practice enough so you can't get it wrong. And that's what Stefon Diggs is bringing. The veteran experience of doing it enough times to know that you won't get it wrong. Because it's different in a game situation. It's different in a practice situation. If you do it enough times to get it right every single time you're getting it right, that you won't get it wrong, in a game, it's going to be a lot easier. It's going to be second nature to you. And that's what's important. That's why you bring those guys. You bring in those veteran players. For the Cowboys, I really say there's 2 players. Actually, hang on. Let me go back to Henderson for a second. Henderson brings you a certain level of explosiveness. He also, I believe, one day will be an all-down back, a 3-down back. He just will be. He has that kind of ability that you can put him on the field, you can put him out wide, you can put him right behind the quarterback when the quarterback's under center. You can put him in right alongside the quarterback when he's in shotgun. He can do all those things, and he's very good at it. And he's great in space. He's hard to bring down. Those are qualities you want to have, and that is what the Patriots are getting with Trevion Henderson. For the Cowboys, I have these 2 picks. The 2 picks are being Donovan Ezeraku and Shavon Revel. Ezeraku was going to be a first-round pick, in my opinion. What happened during the draft is players fall for no reason sometimes. Ezeraku was one of those players. Not for what he did, but for people in the defensive end / edge rusher class, where a lot of them got suspended for PEDs. The Mike Green situation is very different. It's very different. I encourage you, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up. It's very different. It's how he got from Virginia to Marshall was a lot different. And I encourage you to go find it. Like, look it up. You can find it. It's one of those things of I can't even explain it entirely because I would mess it up. You actually just have to read it for yourself. It's one of those things. As the last thing, because of that happening with Pierce and Green and then other people as well, it lowered the stock of the defensive end / edge rusher room to the point Ezeraku just fell out of the first round. And then you get to the second round, and people are already trying to go by the board still. Ezraku just kept falling. And then he fell to the Cowboys, and the Cowboys were like, hey, we need an edge rusher. He's still on the board. He's a first round talent. He's a first round grade for us. Let's go get him. And they did. That's exactly what happened. What I like about this kid is he has insane bend. It's insane. He can get on these dips around these corners with such ease. He can be like not. He'll be running and then he'll turn at an angle and he'll be like 2 feet off the ground. It's insane. He has insane dip. He gets around the edge. He can make a play on the quarterback. He actually he was one of the highest. He at one point led his conference in sacks. Like I think he finished top 5 in college football in sacks. Like that was insane. That was how good he was, and he fell to the second round. So you took him, and he also has long arms. He has very long arms. So he kind of moves it in a way that is very beneficial. And I'm very excited for this kid. I really am. Talking about the Shavon Revel, the reason I bring up Shavon Revel, it's not just his talent on the field, it's his perseverance. This is a guy, I'm going to tell you this story. I've said this on a few videos of my NFL World YouTube channel, which go check it out, www.youtube.com/@NFL World 100. I said this, it's actually a remarkable story. It really is. He says he was in a car accident when he was a senior in high school. Really bad car accident. And he had bleeding in his brain to the point they had to drill a hole in to relieve the pressure in his brain. And he missed out on a good portion of his senior year to the point he didn't graduate. He was a good student, he just didn't graduate because of this illness, because of what happened to him in this accident, which everyone understands that. So he ended up, I believe he ended up going for his GED and he got it, but he couldn't get into college because of his grades. So he became a employee of Amazon and was working these 10 to 12 hour shifts at Amazon. And he would drive by this college called East Carolina. That was a smaller school, but he was driving by. And he eventually, after a long day of work, there was an open tryout and he went. And he impressed so much that he ran a 40 and he impressed so much. And he basically, he wasn't warmed up. He just ran. And he impressed him so much. And then he said, well, what about this kid? And they said, well, he didn't really graduate and all that stuff. And they told him, if you go and get your final like couple credits so you can actually, we'll give you an opportunity. So he did. It took him like summer or something like that. It wasn't very long. And he got it. He goes, he gets the spot. He was playing good football. And then he suffers this past year a torn ACL. He would have been a first round pick. He was playing at that kind of level. He wasn't always known as a big interception guy, but he would go and he only played like I think 3 games this year and he had 2 picks already. So he was doing some very good things. And he was so close. He got hurt and there was questions of, okay, what's going to happen? Because he was supposed to be a first round pick. He would have been a first round. And he goes to draft. He goes to the combine. He talks to teams. And we get to the 3rd round of the draft. And he's there. And the Cowboys took him. This is a guy who's never played out. He played only outside corner. He's not a big guy. He's really not that big. But he's willing to tackle. Something that Cowboys desperately need. A guy who's willing to tackle. He's at the cornerback position. He's willing to tackle. He's not going to avoid contact. There's clips of him in college chasing down guys. There's a great clip of a running back. He breaks the contain. He's going up near the sidelines, and all you see is Shavon Revel, who's pretty much lined up with the tight end, maybe a little offset of it, and he just goes in hot pursuit and cuts off the angle so the running back has to go out of bounds and doesn't get any more yards. It was impressive. It was so impressive because he didn't fear tackling. He loves to tackle. Something you need. That's a mentality you need. Now the question is, when is he going to be ready? Well, when the Cowboys did their offseason program in Oxnard, California, he was working out, and everyone thought he'll be ready before Trayvon Diggs, because Trayvon Diggs got hurt in December of last year. And his name is actually pronounced Shavon. It's not pronounced how it's spelled. It's Shavon. And Shavon has been that guy. If he could have gotten help, he is about a couple weeks away still from being there. So he was put on the injured. He was put on the injured reserve, but not really an injured reserve. It's not pup. It's not the pup list, but he will miss some time. He'll miss the first couple weeks of the season. He'll get healthy. He'll be able to practice a little bit. He was on the NFI list, so he'll get healthy. He'll be ready to go, and that's the best news you could hear for a guy like that, because you want guys like that to succeed. A guy who persevered through all of that and is going to be able to go and play football and got drafted and now has to show what he can do. You can't wait to see what happens. So that's my favorite two picks right there. Um, the player that has impressed Lucas the most is Efton Chisholm, a guy who wasn't going to make the team unless he had a great preseason and a great camp, and he did, and he made the 53-man roster. That's the best way you can explain it. A guy who you weren't expecting to make the team all of a sudden makes the team. You're like, how did that happen? And I don't know a whole lot about Efton Chisholm, but I can tell you this: the guy, if you can make a team and there's a long shot you can make the team, but you made the team somehow, that's impressive. That's very impressive. It's hard. You got to think about it. There's 53 players per team on the active roster each and every single week. And then there's only so many of those jobs. It's hard. But he found a way to make it. That's perseverance right there. And that's trusting that you are making the right play every single day, every single time. The Cowboys, I guess my answer would be James Houston. James Houston was not expected to make this team. It was a long shot. Maybe he made the practice squad, but that was a long shot. And he goes and he makes this team somehow. He played great. This was a guy who was in Cleveland last year, didn't play a lot and didn't play well because he was banged up, coming off an ankle injury he suffered in Detroit. He just didn't look healthy. And now all of a sudden he looks healthy and he's like very similar to Esavaku, got that dip around those corners. He's willing to make the plays. He's not really a run stopper, which is my concern if I'm the Cowboys, is do we have enough run stoppers at the edge position? I don't know. But I can tell you this. You get him on the field, I believe he'll have a good season. You just got to give him the opportunity. Because he had a great camp. He was blowing things up. He was doing some really good work in that department. And in the preseason, he was playing really well. He had a sack. He had a great play where they ran a jet sweep. And for whatever reason, I think the idea was so they were going to turn the edge free on that side. They were going to run the jet sweep, and the idea was to just trick James Houston, and they go right up the sideline. That was the idea. The problem was it didn't trick James Houston, so he just blows up the guy who was on the jet sweep. It was a great play. It's an awesome play by. I think that play, along with what he did in camp, got him a spot on this team. It really did, because I think he played great football, and I think the Cowboys were afraid of letting him go because they didn't want him to go somewhere else. Now, prediction time. What was the New England Patriots record going to be? Lucas says his belief is the team will go and with the 2025 record will go 10-7. I believe that. I think, but I'm going to tweak it a little bit, just a little, with saying 10-7 is their ceiling. They're going to go 10-7. I don't think they go better than that. But I will say this: their floor is 8 wins. They're 8-9 at the floor, 7-10 at the floor. That's where they are. So that's a lot better than what they were last year. 7-10, 8-9 is right where they need to be. This is a project. This is a reclamation project. They have to reform this offense. They got to reform this roster. They're not a good roster. Go back. Look at that 2019 Super Bowl, 2018, 2019 Super Bowl year they won. They had a bad roster. They had Gronk turn back the clock a little ways to where he looked competent at the tight end at that point because he was just so beaten up he couldn't do it during the season. But once he did it during the postseason, he turned back the clock, and then Julian played really well. Julian Edelman played really well. They had some other great pieces, and their defense was really good. But after that, their roster was so beat up. Gronk retired. That Edelman became the number one guy, the only number one guy, and their defense wasn't as good. And Tom Brady himself could not resurrect this offense or resurrect this team. This roster was so bad. And then Brady left, and the whole thing fell apart. It fell apart from Belichick's perspective. It fell apart from the team's perspective. Everything fell apart. And that's what happened. So Revel is being asked to take this roster that has been so bad for so long and find a way to, without destroying the entire building, to make a new part of this model. How does he do it? Well, that's what he's got to do with the draft picks, with some free agency moves, which they made some great free agency moves. Bringing in Milton Williams was a great move, but bringing in Vrabel was the big move. That was the move they needed to bring. That was the guy they needed to bring. I like the move of Carlton Davis, but Vrabel had to be the guy, and they nailed it. So that's why I'm saying I think the floor is 7-10, 8-9. That's where I think they are. Their ceiling is 10-7. That's where it is. It will be much better. It still might not be perfect, but it will be much better. This is a 2 to 3 year deal that is all about a reclamation project. Just focus on that for 2 or 3 years, and let's see what happens. For the Cowboys, I truly believe their ceiling with this offense, and yes, I know the lackluster with no Michael Parsons now. I get it. And with health and concerns and all that stuff, I get it. Even though Trayvon Diggs is expected to go tonight on a pitch count, we would assume. Tyler Guyton, the left tackle for the Cowboys, also expected to go on a pitch count as well. We'll see how that works. But I will say this. I think the Cowboys record, because I think the NFC East will be really good. I think their ceiling is 10-7, 11-6. That's where they are. That's just where they are. Their floor is 9-8. It's not a big gap. It really isn't. And the reason I say that is because this offense, if they can click, if they can get clicking right away, which I think they will, I think they'll be a good offense, which is what they're going to need to be, especially for a good portion of the season. They're going to be good on offense. So therefore, They have shown that when Dak Prescott has been healthy with this roster that they got, that they can win 8 games. That's why I'm not buying all of the only win 7 games. No, I don't see that. I just don't. I could see them winning 8, 9 games. I could see that at their floor. I could see that. I really could. But I think also, I think there's games. Like, I think this defense will be better than what a lot of people think. And I think the team will be better than a lot of people think as a whole. I think everyone's concerned about what Brian Schottenheimer, the new head coach, will be. But I think this team will be really good. And you have the faith in Dak Prescott to make that work. You really do. So let's see what happens. But I have the ceiling 10-7, 11-6. Because I believe, and I said this during my the NFL Dream series, I said if what I believe happening is at some point in the season, whether it's in the middle or even at the end, I could see it at the end too, there will be either a 3-way tie for first, or there will be only a game and a half in between each other. That's where they're going to be. Because I'm concerned about the Eagles and their secondary. They lost some pass rushers. They lost some notable players. Milton Williams was a big time player they lost. Nakobe Dean is banged up. There's concern levels from that. So there's obvious concerns from the Eagles side. The Commanders, I mean, Von Miller has to turn back the clock because they lost Dante Fowler to the Cowboys. So Von Miller has to turn back the clock to 2016. And I don't know if he can do it. I think that team got better, especially with the addition of Deebo Samuel and the addition of Larry Tunsil. But I think them not having a a dominant edge rusher is concerning to me, and the loss of Jonathan Allen is a big concern as well. And then for Dallas, obviously, it's not having Michael Parsons there and betting on Brian Schottenheimer to be really good. Those are things that you absolutely are betting on. But and then even look at the Giants. Like, that's a team that I see, like, this is Brian Dable's last shot. He has to prove it. And he's got this young quarterback in Jackson Dart. He brought in Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. You're betting on those guys to be really good. I could see this defense, I think, is going to take a leap with Abdul Carter and Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau. So I see a lot of good with this division. But I just think at one point in the season, we will have a 3-way tie for the first place. I really do believe that. And it might be near the end. Who knows? Because I think it's going to be really exciting to watch. I'm not saying all 3 teams make the playoffs, but I'm saying it will be fun to watch this division unfold. For the Well Play Podcast, I'm Jacob Hubert and Lucas.